Hi, my name is Christopher, and according to the bureaucracy of labor statistics, approximately 33.8% of students that are high school seniors do not get accepted into the college of their choice or acceptance. This being said, there could be many reasons for why the student did not get into college. It could be police enforcement laws, it could be drug enforcement problems, it could be family problems. But on the website of the bureaucracy of labor statistics, they show that most students who didn't get into the college of their choice or acceptance was because that they just couldn't get the grades in. The high school educational system didn't properly prepare them, and therefore they weren't accepted anywhere. My claim of fact for today is that the high school education system is not properly preparing students for college. My first supporting claim would be that the teaching methods in high school don't properly apply to every student. So I'm sure we've all been in class, we've taken notes, and we've heard lectures, and we've had to do those small group activities. That is what's called the banking method. The banking method requires teachers to lecture at you, and then you would take notes, and you would be forced to memorize them so you'd be prepared for the test. I'm sure if some of you look down, you can see how some of the desks are meant for only note-taking. This banking method is improper because it only works toward a specific set of students. The students who are able to memorize methods easily and well, and those who can take notes properly. For the visual learners, the audible learners, or the interactive learners, they are failing in these prospects, where the banking method students are able to kind of succeed well. The negative reinforcement method is something we're all familiar with. It's the detention, the Saturday school, the prevention of graduation or going to prom. It's saying that if you want to condition a person to do more or less of an activity, then you pretty much give them a punishment if they do that. It's saying this doesn't really work because it doesn't teach the student to learn the material or not do that certain activity more. It really shows them to get around it or just add on to something else they have to do on their list of obligations. It doesn't necessarily prove to anyone that they really shouldn't do that habit again. So my second point would be that the teachers hired are unfit, and the teachers who are unfit are able to continuously stay in school and teach the students. I have on here the two math problems. In order to become a high school teacher or elementary school teacher, you have to take something called the CBST, or the California Basic Educational Skills Test, in which the teachers have to take a test in order to become a teacher in elementary or high school. These are two of the problems on the board that they are required to take, and almost all the questions on the test are like this. I got these off the practice test questions on the CBST website, so you can check it right there. Student scores 76, 80, 83, 71, 80, and 78. Find the average, and 4,286 and 390. Those are two basic questions that almost a sixth grader can answer them. It does not probably show that a teacher who would have to teach AP Psychology, AP History, or even Calc would need to. It wouldn't show that that teacher would have the necessary knowledge to teach the students and prepare them for college. There's also something else called tenure. Tenure is where a teacher is guaranteed a job for a certain amount of years or for life. Originally, tenure started out as something where it would prevent the administrators from firing teachers who were actually worthy of teaching and hiring their friends and family. But over the generations past, teachers have declined in jobs, and tenure has become more of a thing where they can save teachers and save the hassle of finding another teacher. It shows that teachers are able to be guaranteed a job even if they are improperly fit for the job. And the only way they can really be fired is by a miscode of conduct or by breaking a certain law that doesn't work with the school system. That is also found on the teachersexposedunion.com. It is up to date from October 2012. And my last summary reason of why the high school educational system is not properly educating our students is because I'm sure as many of us know, it relies very much on grades. We are forced to take a test, take quizzes, and take homework, and they all rely on A's, B's, C's, D's, or F's. This doesn't properly work well because many of us are consistent with our grades, and if we see that we are only getting B's and C's, a lot of us tend to conform to those grades. I know a friend who had all C's and D's, and he figured, well, if I keep consistently getting D's, then I feel like I'm not worthy or being smart going to college, and therefore I shouldn't apply or I wouldn't do well in college. It shows that if the high school is focused too much on grades, then they won't really be able to understand the student's intellect. The student's intellect is far from that. They can be taught well with different methods, going back to the baking method as well, if they didn't rely on grades. The grades kind of give us a standard. There's also something called the Asian minority myth. It's where Asian Americans are often perceived to be as super smart, straight-A kids. This is something like that. If you are put into a classroom of super smart kids with straight A's and you consistently get B's or C's, you're more likely to be put down into a lower grade class. Whereas if you were put into a class with students who are also have B's and C's, it would raise the competition level and help other students get higher grades. That is one of the main reasons why the high school education system is not working. So just to kind of wrap that all up in one big sentence, it's to say that the high school educational system does not properly prepare students for college because The teaching methods don't apply to every student, they only apply to specific students who really need it. They apply just to those students. The teachers who are hired are unfit for the job, and they continue to teach their job even though they shouldn't be. And that the grades impact onto them are kind of lowering their motivation and can prevent them from doing better than they really can do.
Okay, the main claim is identified pretty clearly. There's no setup of what the secondary points are going to be, but you did signpost those points in the body of the speech very clearly, and I thought that that was helpful to structure everything that you're talking about. The supporting information sometimes is incomplete. We get partial pieces of factual data. We don't usually get any statistics that go along with them, and you make it seem like that is all there is in the element that you're talking about, and I'm not sure how complete that is. For example, on the thing about the banking method of teaching, you presuppose that there is some validity to this notion of different learning styles, and that none of the education addresses those different learning styles, but I don't have any data that says that there is a lack of diversity in learning styles that are used by any teachers. It's just an assumption that that's what happens, that they only do this so-called banking thing that apparently only fits one particular style of learning. I don't have any support for that. That part's your assertion. So I can believe that the banking style might not work for everybody, but I don't know that the other styles are not being offered, and I don't know that there are approaches that would work for those other styles that could produce better results. That's something that you need to have in the argument. The CBEST, for instance, you give us a minimum score based. Well, basically you've got the examples that you use in the introduction here on the formulas, and while they aren't complicated problems, the notion that that's all that's required in order to be teaching calculus in high school, I think you will discover is not an accurate reflection of the teachers who choose calculus as their field of interest. In fact, there are other credential programs that teachers have to go through. CBEST is like a minimal entry score. It is not the end point or like a screening score for people at different levels, depending upon the discipline that you're working in. So, the notion that somebody who just has to pass that test is then going to be teaching science, math, or any of those kinds of things. They might be teaching it in an elementary school grade, but not necessarily at the higher grades, and that's all you'd need to be able to teach. You say, that's a sixth grade thing. Well, if you're teaching fourth graders, that's the level that you need to work at. Where's the stuff that says, what's required, or that there's nothing required for people who are teaching those higher classes? That's the thing that I think is missing from the argument. You do seem to be rushing a little bit through the presentation. I understand you've got a lot of ideas. That's part of the problem. Is I think you introduced some ideas that they could be developed as speeches on their own, but they don't necessarily seem to be connected to this particular claim. There are problems with tenure, for instance, but the demonstration that the problems that students have with being prepared for school or college is a result of tenure, I didn't see anything that connected that. I mean, you've got a general criticism of tenure, but there's nothing that says that the reason that high school students aren't able to get into the colleges that they want is because they're being taught by some teacher who was incompetent and wasn't able to move out of their job, or be moved out of their job. This is going to be a good example for cause-effect arguments when we do the refutation speeches, because I think there are good issues to be talking about here. All right, thank you.